Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm talking about an ink from Leonardo Officina Italiana. It is deep purple. I got this in a sample vial here from pulpaddiction.com.au. They're an online stationery retailer here in Australia and they do really amazing things. They provided me with the samples of the Leonardo ink line to do reviews of, so thank you very much to them. Check them out if you're wanting to buy these inks or any other product that they stock. So this is how the ink looks on a like a swatch card. I think it's a really pretty purple. It's got some nice sheen there, which you can sort of see, a bit of gold sheen. It's got some good shading. I just think it's a really nice ink. Let's look at it on some paper. So this is the Rhodia test page I've done of the ink. I have it in a Faber-Castell Ondoro, which is a really lovely medium nib, quite wet, quite smooth. Does a lovely job of putting sort of a beautiful smooth line down on the page. So yes, I've said this is a nice medium purple, and by that I mean it's not super dark. I wouldn't necessarily consider this a deep purple in the sense that I think it's sort of probably a little closer to a violet, but it's got some lovely darker shading. Medium wetness and performs well and doesn't dry too dull. It's also got a nice but not overpowering sheen. Now you can see a little bit of the sheen over here on the swab. You can also see some of that nice shading happening in the writing. Now what I mean by it doesn't dry too dull is that the ink goes on a little bit more vibrant than it dries. It sort of dries with a sort of a slightly dusty tone, which you can see once again in that swab as well. So let's look at it on some paper and then some other paper, and then we'll come back and talk about this one. Let's start at the top, and here we have Tomo River paper. You can see that the actual sheen really does show up on this paper. If any paper is going to sheen, you will get it. But it's not overpowering. It's just sort of a bit of a nice, where the ink pools or goes on particularly thick. But yeah, it sits nicely on this paper, looks good, and performs well. Like, nothing bleeds through. Tomo River is very fountain pen ink friendly, but we are still, nothing even came through on the swab there really. Let's work our way down. So after Rhodia, the next paper I have it on here is the like the printer copier paper. This is 80 GSM paper from Reflex, and the colors are a little more dull, but it turns out pretty well. Looks good. There's very little feathering, very little indeed, and I actually think it performs really well. Like if we look at it in comparison to a couple of other inks on the back of this page, deep purple actually really does turn out pretty well indeed. Now the least expensive paper I have it on is the Spyrex Student Notepad, and once again we see very little feathering. The colour is dull, but it's got a nice sort of darker purple shade to it. There's no sheen, and once again, in comparison to some other inks on that page, it turns out pretty well in terms of the bleeding as well. There is a little bit, but that is not unexpected on this paper, which is very, very, shall we say, not fountain pen friendly whatsoever. Just for the sake of the exercise, let's look at it on the reverse of the Rhodia here. You can see that there's sort of nothing has really sort of come through apart from the swab there. A little bit from the water test, but water has eaten it through a little bit. But from the writing, I've got to say it's come up pretty well. So you can see there from the water test that the ink does move around a lot. There is a bit of a line left, which can sort of be visible, but I wouldn't say it's got much water. It's certainly not waterproof. Water resistance, I would say, is low-ish. Let's be real. But a lot of that can also be seen here in the chromatography. We get sort of that sort of purple line left, that sort of grey purple line, and then the pinks and there's darker purples left at the top. I think it's a nice chromatography, and I think it's not dissimilar to what you see really on the page there. So let's talk about, firstly, let's talk about the criteria. So, sheen. I'd say it's a medium sheening ink, particularly for purples. Shimmer, no. Shading is excellent. I do like the way this ink shades. nice lighter shading, but the dark is, you know, very, very dark. It's almost probably dark enough for professional use, but purple is one of those colors that some people are just a little bit nervous about using in a work situation. Bleed, I would say, is fair, good to fair. Feather is excellent. Like we could see on even those lower end paper, there was still like very little actual, you know, feathering. Wetness, flow is good, you know, not super wet, but not a dry ink either. Concentration is good, you know, like really it's pretty, you know, it's pretty, you know, well concentrated ink. You know, we're not certainly not talking about an ink that's light on the page. Then we have dry time, slow. This was 35 seconds, and you can still see there it's pretty wet. And like, as I said, this Ondoro is not a super dry pen. Not a wet pen, but certainly not, you know, sort of super wet. So it does take a little bit of time to dry. Cleaning is fair. There's no staining. Like, nothing stains from this ink. The converter, I had it in the other pen. Yeah, pretty much clean straight out. But because it is a reasonably concentrated ink, it does take a little bit to sort of wash it through. So if you're using this in, you know, piston fillers or a vac filler or something like that, it's just going to take a little bit more effort. Value. Now, this ink comes in a 40 ml bottle. Now, as I said, I got this in a sample from Pulp Addiction, and it's a really lovely little sample. They do a great sample service, Pulp Addiction, if you're interested in trying out a few inks, particularly if you're in Australia. But even if you're not, they carry a few inks that are a little bit different, like these Leonardo inks, which aren't sort of carried everywhere yet, which is nice to see. But I've got one bottle here, which is the bottle from the Mediterranean Blue. This is how it comes packaged. It's a nice packaging, you know, cardboard box with a 40 ml glass, I think it's octagonal bottle here, which, you know, is good size, nice base, you know, and simple labeling and all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, a nice ink. And that bottle retails in Australia for about $26, $26.95 I put here. In the US, it's $16 a bottle. So it's not a cheap ink. It is a premium line ink. So it's not, you know, you are paying more than, say, for like a diamine or something like that. So let's talk about the score here. We've got 3.5 out of 5. It's a good, solid performing, rich purple ink. Basically, like, it performs well, it does the job. It's definitely purple. It's not sort of a vibrant violet sort of color or leaning towards pink or blue. It's definitely purple. You know, in terms of the color comparisons, I've got two here. We start with, wait, get that to focus. There we go. Robert Oster Deep Purple, which is definitely darker, but shades more towards the grey purple. Then I've got the Leonardo Officina Italiana Deep Purple, and then Lamy Dark Lilac, which is more plummy, definitely. But any purple that comes out, everyone's always asking whether it compares to Dark Lilac, and there you can see Dark Lilac certainly is a darker, richer, sort of more, as I said, plummy purple. So yes, 3.5 out of 5. Nice ink, performs well. My personal score is exactly the same. I think it's a good ink. The price is a little on the higher side, but you are getting sort of a premium sort of product here. But it performs well, and I think it looks really good. So that was Leonardo Officina Italiana's Deep Purple ink, which I got in a sample from Pulp Addiction here in Australia. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me in any of my videos here or drop me an email, which is also listed down below. If you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for a review, get in touch and let's see what we can do. Or if there's a product you think I should be looking at, please let me know, either in the comments or via one of those platforms as I mentioned. So thank you for watching. Enjoy your pens and your ink, and I'll talk to you soon.